What is up, everyone? Today I'm in the amazing new stunt race creator, and today I'm going to be covering trigger points, starting grids, and checkpoints. So whether you want to start a race in a tube, out over the water, under the map, or if you want to place a checkpoint in the air. And also I'm going to be doing some comparisons of the regular checkpoints compared to the new circular ones and size comparisons. So first thing is I'm going to show you how to start a race anywhere you want, get a trigger point anywhere you want, and start the race. So I'm going to go ahead and go up over the canyon. Usually it's hard to get a starting grid up there or a trigger point to do any type of starting grid. So first thing I'm going to do is grab a piece of track. Now this method I'm going to show you works with any large flat surface. So it can be a track piece, it can be a big block piece, as long as it's large and flat. That's the only thing you need. So what you want to do is, once you lay your prop down flat and big enough, is go ahead and switch to your vehicle view and then bring up your trigger. Now you can see it's in purple and I can't place it, and normally you can't, so that's normal. But if I rock the camera far enough forward till it turns white, I can actually place it and kind of move it around. If I get too close to where I'm at, I can move it behind me. Even if I had more track piece or a larger surface, I could put it over there, but I'm just going to put it off to the side right here. So you can see it's white. So once it turns white, I hit X to place it, and then I'm going to go ahead and switch and pull my starting grid up here. So I'm just going to tune that around and place it up there. So you can see I just laid a piece of track, used the vehicle view to place the trigger point, and then put my starting grid there. So if I even wanted to do it out over the water, say real far out here, go ahead and do a track piece and switch to the vehicle again and bring up trigger point, place it, and then bring my starting grid. And the nice thing too is, since the trigger point's so far away from my previous starting grid, that it just brings it with me, so I don't have to go find it. So that's pretty neat. Next one, I'll do one under the map real quick. Go over here by the windmill farm, and what I'm going to do is place a trigger here just above the road, and I'm going to go ahead and switch to a track piece, and I'm just going to get it right directly above my trigger point there. I'm going to go advanced options, override position, click on that, and go to Z here. This is my height, and I'm just going to use that to sync it. That's what's nice, is you don't gotta build the templates. You don't gotta do, I mean, you could, depending on what height you want to get or what you want to start at, but I'm just gonna go down to like -20, and then I'm gonna go through. So I placed it there, so it's under the map and it's actually placed. And what I'm gonna do is go ahead and go to get photo ready. I like to go to photo. It's easier to find my prop. And you can go down through any of these, or not any of the windmills, but ones that are dynamic, not all of them, but there's quite a few that you can go down through. If they're not dynamic and spinning, you can't go through them, but there's quite a few of them, probably 5 to 8 or so. Never really counted, but every so many of them you can go down through. So just going to go down through here, go to photo mode, find my track, and then once I get to my track, I'm going to go ahead and switch back to checkpoints in my starting grid. And you can see I'm directly underneath of my trigger point, so I've started a race there. So that would be how you'd start one up in the air. That would be how you'd start one over the water. Also starting one under the map there. So go ahead and go back to the military base where I got some other things laid out, and I'll show you guys some neat things over there. Okay, once I get back over here at the military base, show you an easy way. This is an oldie but a goodie method. I've covered this before in older videos. A lot of you guys might know about this, but it's a good review too. How to get starting grid just inside of a tube. So first thing, this would be in the air, my tube. Just go ahead and put a piece of track here. I got it close enough to the ground that I can do this, but if not, put a piece of track up in the air and get your starting grid and your trigger point on the track, and then close to where your tube is that is in the sky where you want to start. But so what you want to do is go ahead and once you got those criterias, go ahead, and what I like about these new tubes too that I got to point out is that you can just get down through the top of them. Normally you can't go through a prop, but that's really cool. But anyway, once you get in, you can see you got a medium grid here with 6 cars, and I don't know, it's really hard to place. But if I go to small and then change this to 3, what I can do is start laying these out, and then if I move it far enough forward and have a long enough straightaway, I can get up to 30. So you can see going 3 by 20. Sometimes you can even get it 4 with maybe like 10 vehicles or 16, or you can move it around, but 3 by 20 is really good for a 30 grid. So go ahead and lay that down, and then when I go to race details, I can't change that. Available vehicles, just motorcycles and cycles. So all you got to do is get your title and description and a checkpoint and a starting grid, and you can save or overwrite your race. So you just do that, just simply save it or overwrite it, and then go back into race details. Now you can change this to medium or large. Small is going to give you just the motorcycles and bicycles. Medium is going to give you access to all the cars. Large is going to give you access to the vans also, so you're going to get all the vehicle classes plus the motorcycles, vehicles, and the vans. So if you guys ever want to do a van race, just save, change that to large, and then you can do your vans. So once you change that to medium or large, all you have to do is go back in and start clicking and adding your classes back in. So you'd have to click on all 13 classes. And if you wanted the vans, you can see there, you can take out the BMXs, you can take out the motorcycles, and also if you wanted to go ahead, you can take out each individual car. So for anybody that didn't know about that, that's a nice little review. So that'd be an easy way of getting a starting grid started in there, and then I'll just go ahead and change this to super. And then you can see, put my super cars in there. And even with the small grid, they don't bump too much when you start. If you get the vans and you got a contact race, a lot of them glitch and twist sideways and stuff. But if you got the vans and non-contact, you're pretty good. They'll all start pretty good. But let me go ahead and pull this back out, and I'll show you how to do in-air checkpoints, in-air starting grids, and a couple different things that's going on there. And I'm gonna go ahead and change that back to 6 so it's easier to work with. But what happened, a couple rules of thumbs on this. You can do in air. Before, when you would do a grid in the air, you just place your props, place your checkpoints, put a checkpoint on a barge or something, delete it, and then your checkpoint would stay, your starting grid would stay, it wouldn't mess with anything. Now, after the new Cunning Stunts update, when you place a starting grid in the air or place checkpoints in the air and delete the prop, it deletes out the checkpoint, and deleting props, if a starting grid's in the air, will also delete it out. But I got a template method that will actually keep those. There's 2 methods of doing this. You can actually edit the prop, like place it, put the checkpoint on it, and then re-edit it. I'll show you that too. But it still deletes out the starting grid. Now, these are templates. They're actually two-piece templates. And the thing is, when you delete out templates, it doesn't seem like it messes with the starting grid or the checkpoints, although it can, so you're going to have to use some caution with this method. I'd definitely save your race before you started messing with any of this. Make sure you have some extra props and templates to put things back. And also, another thing too is if you save a race, you can still continue to work on it, save it and continue to work on it. But as far as with a template, if you save a race, exit out of the creator, and then come back in, the templates actually become just normal props, which means they're still there. They're still the 2 or up to 30 props, but you have to delete them individually instead of as a template. So even if I would do that and then delete each prop individually, it would still get rid of my starting grid. So I know it sounds confusing, but I'm going to mess with some of this stuff and show you kind of how it works. So first thing, like I said, I got 3 templates, well 4 templates up there with 2 checkpoints on each starting grid. Now square would delete each individual prop, triangle deletes my template. So I'm going to hit triangle and delete the template. Now that keeps my starting grid. Now I got 2 checkpoints here. I'm going to triangle once again, and my starting grid's fine, my checkpoints are fine. And every once in a while with doing this stuff too, when you're deleting out props, it always deletes out the starting grid. Sometimes it'll delete out another checkpoint too. But what I'm going to do here now is just delete props. So when I delete a prop, there goes my starting grid. Now this one actually stayed because it's saying a car can spawn. For some reason, when you delete out a prop, even if the checkpoint's up there, the car would spawn in the creator, but in online racing it would spawn and drop there. But if you want to go for that method, that would be a way to go, but that's not usually the method gone for in in-air checkpoints. But you can see by deleting each individual prop, it got rid of those checkpoints and it got rid of the starting grid. So I'm gonna go ahead and put those back and show you how to just edit it with a prop, and then how that still gets rid of it. So you got that triangle to delete the template, so I've deleted template, kept that. So let's go for just a normal prop, like a normal track piece that I can lay. Let's get something a little smaller and easier to see here. So like I said, this template's made up of a medium and a short track piece. So just going to go ahead and lay down 2 track pieces, and then put a checkpoint up here and put a checkpoint up here. Just mess with some stuff here, and then if I go in and make sure prop stacking is off, so because that way I can edit. See, it changes it to place and then it changes it to edit. So once prop stacking is off, I can edit this, and it keeps my checkpoint there. And when I replace it, my checkpoint's still there, my starting grid's still there. But if I would delete this prop or any other prop, it's going to get rid of my starting grid, but it's going to keep my checkpoint. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that and show you that. So see, there goes my starting grid, and it kept my checkpoint. So that is one way of doing it. If your starting grid's on the ground and you don't want to mess with a template, you can still do the checkpoints in the air. But if you want to keep get your starting grid back, even if your trigger point's way far away, you could still use the method, switch to the bike or switch to the car, replace the trigger, and then replace your starting grid. And then, like I said, as long as you're still in this race and you haven't saved it, exit out and come back, you can delete the template, get your grid up there, still get your checkpoint in the air. Like I said, you can do an individual prop and then just replace it and then delete it if you're just doing the in-air checkpoints. And if your starting grid is on a prop or on the ground, it doesn't seem like it messes with it. But then again, it always could delete it out, so just a little caution there. And I have had checkpoints, other checkpoints get deleted out for whatever reason. It's been far and few in between, but it has happened. So another way, if you ever wanted to fix something, like if you got a checkpoint down here, and let's just get a normal track piece. Here's a good little fix to get a checkpoint. Just if you're doing especially now with these big stunt races, if you got one row up high and you forgot a checkpoint or deleted one by accident, and let's say I'm on the ground and I got a checkpoint up here and I want another one here, like my course has come around for whatever reason and I need another checkpoint between these two. A really good and easy method, like to grab a checkpoint, is what I like to do is just put any large enough prop to get a checkpoint, and then you can grab through this blue line, because normally if I try at this steep angle, sometimes you can catch this to go in between 5 and 6, but a lot of times you can't. But if you have a prop, you can see how that line turns yellow. So all I got to do is grab that, then I could place it there, or if I needed it over here, then that's an easy way of getting a checkpoint. So if you're doing, the reason I showed you that, if you're doing any of this and your starting grid gets deleted out, or if you delete out a checkpoint, or if you're working with stuff and you don't want to delete something out, or something gets messed up and you need to get a checkpoint, just put a prop through the blue line, and that's the easiest way that I've found to get another checkpoint. So as long as you see that little blue line, and you can go right in there and grab it. And it works through any building or hillside too. So if I'd have like a checkpoint here and a checkpoint here, it's hard to grab, but if I ride up the wall just enough, I can have access to it, grab it, and then replace it, and then adjust checkpoints wherever I want. So hopefully that shows you the new stuff with the checkpoints, as far as doing in-air checkpoints, starting grids. Like I said before, if you got a race started, make sure you save before you do any of this, because you could lose a lot of stuff. You know, save yourself, if you're doing a race, maybe save yourself about 6 to 8 props at the end for some templates to replace checkpoints. So go up to about 142 props, or 144, to save yourself 6 to 8 to fix some mistakes. So that's just a little word of caution there to hopefully help you guys out. But next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and load up another race I got, switch over to that, and I'll show you some what I've seen with the height and width, and some different things with the checkpoints there, the new checkpoints. Okay, here I'm on a test track. This is a checkpoint height test track, so I'm testing out the new checkpoints, and as far as how wide they are, how high they are, and how they register. Two things that I've noticed that kind of affect, or two things to watch out for. Number one, the setting. I found that even though these are large and circular, and if you run a race online, like, you'll test it and it'll be fine, but as far as GTA non-contact and standard, is what I found is when I've tested this race online and had it at standard or non-contact, I could register all these checkpoints. If I change the setting to GTA, these actually become regular checkpoints, even though visually online they're still big and circular, and you cross through them, you don't register them. So that's one thing to look out for and test, that if you have a GTA setting, that you might not register these checkpoints. So at least it's happened for me. So it could be a date or sensitive, depending on when the race was made. So if it's made now, that could be an issue. If it's older, it might not, but like I said, it's just one thing I've noticed. If it's a GTA setting, it cancels out these checkpoints, or at least for me on the newer races. Another thing, that checkpoint number 1, even if I change this, I know that this is a regular checkpoint and it looks regular, and it is. Even if I place number 1 as a large checkpoint, it always registers as a small. Even online, it changes it to a small circular one, meaning like this but a lot smaller. So it would be this shape and angle but a lot smaller. So, and even if I delete out the first so many checkpoints, and say I would delete out these first 3, 4 would become 1, obviously, because I deleted out the first 3, and it would become a small checkpoint. So your starting grid's always going to be a regular size checkpoint, and your first one's always going to be a small one. And once again, that's what I found on the newest creations, or the newest test I've done. So an older race, this might be full size, but just 2 things to look out for. Now that I got those 2 tips out of the way, that are things that I've come across that I wanted to point out. Just the height. Now, I've run this track online, and I've actually crossed under all these checkpoints and got them. And you can see how many containers I have stacked up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, when I go up to 7 and cross under it, I miss it, but I can go pretty much up to about 6 containers. Now, that's, if you got a checkpoint that's 6 containers above your roadway, you might miss it, but this track, you can see where I've built those up. I've actually registered all these online, and I got that one up there, but these are on the ground, and I've driven on this track, and with just that much sticking up through, I've registered all these. So you can see just kind of the height comparison there. And I got a tube here, and it just shows you kind of like the height, kind of where it's at. So even driving upside down in the tubes, you can register. I've missed them on a few occasions on the top, so it's still a little bit in that area where you can get them and you can't. But I've actually, just to kind of show you a normal one here, this is a normal checkpoint, and the gray container simulates the actual checkpoint where it's placed, and the red ones, if I bump the outsides of those red containers, I can still register this checkpoint. But template number 2 here, or 4 on my thing, but the width guide, this is where I can still register a large one. So what I like about these, it's kind of weird seeing, like, racing down the street and seeing these big circular ones, but it makes it nice if you got a highway race or down the runway or something. You can see that I can still, where those red containers are, register this checkpoint driving on the straight ground. If this checkpoint's on the ground, it still registers online. So, and like I said, if you would change that to a GTA setting, it might not register. So, you know, if you're doing a GTA race and, you know, it's a missile shooter or whatever, contact, you know, blow 'em up race, and you got one of these checkpoints, it's still visually going to look like that, but you're only going to register it at this width and the normal height. So just some cool things that I found out there. Here's the normal, like, usually if you jump in the air over a checkpoint, they've been kind of shaky lately. Usually you could, in the old, you could get like 3, sometimes you're only registering 2 containers high, but I've gone about this high with the new one. So if you're coming off a big stunt ramp, you know, maybe put big circular ones so you can see you have double the height, if not a little bit more. So that's kind of like your height coming off of a jump. And as far as like with the in-air checkpoints, let me go back to templates. And this is actually a template, how I was showing you with deleting your starting grid out and everything. What I did was put a two-piece template together, and then coming off of a jump. And so what I can do with this template is get where I want and then test my jump. When my car, if it clears the tube and doesn't hit the tube anywhere, I can go ahead and make sure that this is on circular, not regular, and then go ahead and place my checkpoint in the tube, which is a template, and then hit triangle to delete template, and then I've got a in-air checkpoint and a huge area. And like I said, if I tested it and the car jumped through that tube and I didn't have any issues hitting that tube, then I shouldn't have any issues with this checkpoint as long as it's a standard or non-contact race. But if I change that to GTA, I could miss that checkpoint. Like I said, that all could be time sensitive. I'm still going through a lot of tests with this stuff. Like I said, I just wanted to show you some width and height. And like I said, I've actually registered every single one of these checkpoints online. And I did go back in, save it, change it to GTA, and I couldn't collect any of these from underneath here. And when I drove over top of these, I couldn't collect any of them. So you know, maybe build a test track or something. Like I said, I spend hours on these. I've built about 13 different test tracks to test stuff. And you know, like I said, it's really cool. Just a couple other examples, like the highway, for example. I'm just going to show you kind of like a width guide of, you can see how wide the highway is here. And then so normally, you know, if you'd be going down the highway, if you would bump this wall over here or this wall over here and the checkpoint's in the middle, you wouldn't register it. But with this one, you can see inside of those walls, and you can see you can almost register all these lanes. That's like, you know, 4 lanes over there, 4 lanes over there. You know what I mean? You can almost register up to 8 lanes, at least a good 6 lanes. And this is actually about the width of the runway up the military base. So I'll show you just how wide that is. And like I said, you got to watch your settings again, whether it's non-contact, standard, or GTA. And if you do build a race like this, and I would test that online to make sure that everything's running good, because like I said, you can see you can register the checkpoints at those red containers and into the gray container, but you can actually, if you place a checkpoint, one of the big circular ones, on the center of the runway, inside of these yellow lines, you can still register that checkpoint. Okay, here I am with the primary and secondary checkpoint system, and this is the last thing I'm going to cover in a video real quick, and this is a really cool feature. Couple rules on this is the primary route still has to be the normal lap length, meaning 0.62 miles or longer. Secondary could be any length, but that could play out different depending on how you got your primary route set up. So basically is what I'm going to do is just set up drag race with lap length here and 5 checkpoints. Another thing too, you can't have more secondary checkpoints than primary. So if you got, like right now I got 5, so I can't have any more than 5 secondary, but if I would have 30 primary, I could have up to 30 secondary. So and another thing too is if I would have 30 primary and 20 secondary, once I hit checkpoint number 20 secondary, it would take me to checkpoint number 21 primary and make me finish out the primary route. So, you know, if you tried to make a real quick course with 5 checkpoints that brought you back to the start and you got 30 primary, it would make you run to 6 there and then run the course. So could be longer, could be shorter, just depending on how you had that set up. So that's one thing to take in mind. So, and you can actually see you know, it laid out. You can see in purple where it laid out when I had it before, like when it's showing highlighted, it shows where 5's at, and then it's showing back to the start. So this purple showing coming from 4 and then going back to what would be the start. So, and if I would mess something up, like say accidentally delete out 4, you can see I got 5 there. This should be 3, and I can see on my mini map it's 3. And if I wanted to get my checkpoint number 4 back, if I would mess the route up, like you can see how it's kind of all goofy here, purple, blue, everything like that, just go to checkpoint 4, and you can see an option comes up, triangle, add secondary. Hit triangle. It's going to pull number 4, and I'm going to put it back, and there's my route back. Or if I had to make any changes or anything. And another thing too, I'll show you with how that deletes out or whatever. See, I got number 5 here, and if I delete checkpoint number 5 primary, it's going to delete checkpoint number 5 secondary. And then if I come back over here and check my route, still 4 is going to take me back to my start, and I'm still going to have 4 here, but I don't meet my lap length, so I can put 5 back in. And then is what's happening there when I put 5 back in, 4's going to take me to 5, and then 5's going to take me back to the start, and then I can choose which route I want again. But if I go back over to 5 and add secondary, that's giving me my 5 back, and you can see it adds my purple back in to where it's going to go back to the starting line. So I'll put 5 back, and then there's my route back. So a couple fixes, couple showing you guys how that works real quick. I just wanted to touch on that. Still playing around with that. I've actually never really worked with a primary or secondary checkpoint system too much, so that's all fairly new to me, but I've been checking this thing out and getting some ideas. But thank you guys for watching. I definitely got a lot more tutorials and races planned over the next couple weeks. Want to do a boost special with all the boosts and stuff, crazy things. I've been putting them in all the races I've been working on. And also I want to do another tutorial with advanced options and all the new prop snapping and everything, and just a special on that, and then tons of races. So hope this helped you out with all the, as far as understanding the checkpoints and stuff, and what I've found out and discovered, and kind of what's new, and some reviews there. But like I said, I can't get enough of this new creator. It's so awesome, so amazing, and just got more ideas and more things planned, and I can't wait to get through everything and get all these tutorials done and get all these races done. But I definitely got a lot of stuff planned over the next couple weeks. So once again, I thank you guys for everything. I mean, the support, the sharing, the like, and everything. I mean, you guys are amazing. I love making these videos so much. So as soon as I get the rest of this stuff done over the next couple weeks, I'll bring you as many videos as I can. Thanks again for everything, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.